Hello everyone. So for our video today we're going to have a commentary on a big sticky issue that has come up. Don't know if you all know, but Harry Styles, a pop artist from the band One Direction or something like that, came out in a Vogue cover and a Vogue article where he's wearing a dress, and he is there's a lot of stuff about changing definitions of masculinity and all this sort of stuff. Well, this has not gone by very well for certain conservative radio hosts and other people. And with me today is my girlfriend, and we are going to have a commentary on this one video from this one gentleman. You will recognize his voice immediately, and we're going to just put our own inputs on the issue. So strap on in. All set?
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully she doesn't mess with that.
Okay, so a couple of obvious stipulations up front. Men have always done cross-dressing. There have always been some segment of men who cross-dress. Very often it was played for comedy, and the entire premise of Some Like It Hot is that it is funny when men cross-dress. That is not what the Harry Styles photo shoot is about. Right? There have been pop stars who have done this before. David Bowie wearing a dress. They always look like idiots, by the way. They always look ridiculous. But the whole point...
Wow.
Okay, so right out of the box, he just did a major faux pas. He said that David Bowie looked like an idiot. Well,
that is, again, it's an opinion, and it's subjective, because people might think that Ben Shapiro looks like an idiot. I'm not saying he does, I'm just saying that that's an opinion, and I don't know, I mean, it's just an opinion, it's just rude, but
right.
Whatever.
That's the thing, as we go in this video, we're not going to be saying, we're going to try not to attack Ben Shapiro's looks or anything like that. And he is free to make his opinion, entitled to make his opinion. But that opinion, well, is just wrong. I personally know, and Amber knows, quite a few people who find David Bowie to be a heartthrob, and they don't possess phalluses. Let's just say that.
point is to be transgressive. Right? But what we are seeing with the Vogue article is not just an attempt to be transgressive, obviously. It's an attempt to redefine masculinity itself. I mean, this is overt in the article. I'm not making it up. I already read you the segments from the Vogue magazine article. Okay, so my friend Candace Owens tweets out, quote, "There is no society that can survive without strong men. The East knows this. In the West, the steady feminization of our men, at the same time that Marxism is being taught to our children, is not a coincidence. It is an outright attack. Bring back manly men."
Okay. That's an interesting comment from a woman who I've never seen wear pants. I'm sorry. A woman I've never seen wear a skirt or dress. I also find it ironic from a woman who is very out, very open, and very public. She seems to be praising the East. And by the East, I'm pretty sure she's talking about Islamic East. Because if she's talking about Asian East, she doesn't know what she's talking about, right?
Yeah, even depending on how far back you go, or even... it's interesting because as the world has become more global, a lot of traditional dress has become the same. So if you're looking at even current modern day areas, anywhere, India, the Middle East, you'll find a lot of Western clothing. There are traditional clothing, and we all know that they kind of like, they have the longer shirts that kind of resemble dress-like robes and whatnot. But I don't know, I just kind of feel like, I don't know, I think we just play more.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I'm not sure what exactly is controversial about this, that masculinity is a good and important thing when channeled properly. It requires men to defend family. It requires men to provide. It requires men to channel their aggressive instincts towards defense of values and civilization. It requires assertiveness. Aristotle talks about masculinity in exactly these sorts of terms. Harvey Mansfield has an excellent book called Manliness, all about masculinity and what distinguishes it from femininity. Now, It's not that the left doesn't acknowledge these are qualities.
Stop that for a second.
Okay.
Okay, so he's talking about assertiveness. You could say that going against the norm is assertive. Going against, again, the norm of your society. Again, it's gotten a little more acceptable for men to wear feminine clothing. More than it used to be. I'm not saying it's like the norm. I'm just saying it's gotten more normal over time. But you could say that that's assertive. Standing out is assertive. So, because he mentioned assertiveness, that's why I'm just bringing that up.
And my issue when I hear this sort of thing about qualities of men, that people espouse as qualities of men, I'm trying to understand why it is that these are specifically masculine traits. Why is assertiveness a masculine trait? Why is channeling your aggressiveness a masculine trait? Frankly, I see a lot of manly men not channeling their aggressiveness and in fact being outright aggressive to people that they don't like, people they disagree with. And I personally, if that's one quality of masculinity I frankly don't like. I don't like competitiveness just for the sake of competitiveness. I'm not a fan of assertiveness just for the sake of it. It's handy at times, but I'm not really a fan of it. Now, it is kind of funny that, once again, it's a woman that Ben is referring to who is quite assertive. I mean, she is very upfront and has a lot of so-called masculine traits. So,
I think this goes back to our original talk, and I'll put some of, I'll just mention it here. And I think it's been overdone and outstretched and polarized. The whole idea of using the words masculine and feminine to describe characteristics when we're talking linguistically in language is for people to better understand what you're communicating in the shortest amount of time possible.
Right.
Remember when I was saying that,
Yeah.
as someone who follows a spiritual kind of occult path, we do this there too, although we also say that there's a spectrum and not, you can have feminine and masculine traits, but it's a way of describing the traits. Now you get into like this weird murky area when you think that courage and stuff is only masculine, only men can do it, but women can do it too. It's just described as masculine, right? For people to better understand what you're talking about. Because if you have to go on this long diatribe avoiding the word masculine, trying to figure out what to say, it gets kind of murky. But again, it's been polarized. Obviously these people that are commenting on this, again, like you said, don't follow their own logic of this polarization of masculine and feminine. Or, you just look at them. And they're more focused, I believe, on norms. This tends to be a norm thing when people focus on norms and the breaking of norms. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, and Candace Owens is saying bring back manly men. Well, okay, if she wants to bring back manly men, from what decade? From what era? Does she want manly men from 1900? Because if she does, then she better just go ahead and step right back into that kitchen, because that's what that manly man's going to want. When I hear this term, bring back manly men, it's like, I turn wrenches for a living. I work on aircraft for a living, and I also sport skirts, dresses, and tights more often than most guys. And I guess I would fit into the description of manly when it comes to my occupation that I do for a living. But then other people would say, well, you're not manly because you wear dresses.
I think it's stereotypical assumptions, mainly.
Yeah.
Well, people just see you and they assume this stuff about you that's not true. I mean, I get it too. That's not true about you because they don't really know you. They're just going off what they think, what the norms have been, what they were raised with, what is popular, and all like these different ideas about you.
Right.
If they just see you, they don't know that you're an airplane mechanic. They just see you in a dress.
They just see me in a dress and making an automatic assumption. How many times do people make automatic assumptions based on someone's dress? I mean, it's sort of a joke I have about the interview suit. People put on this fancy suit and they go for an interview because they're putting across this image that they're professional when they may not know jack squat. And then the guy in the torn jeans and ratty t-shirt is as smart as Elon Musk, you know, but you throw that guy out and in favor of the guy for the suit because he's putting across this image of professionalism. They're making assumptions instead of actually communicating with the individual. That's something else is what came up in several discussions I've had about this topic with this Ben Shapiro thing, is a man that wears feminine things is sending out confusing signals and it screws up nonverbal communications. And I said, wow, well maybe people would actually start communicating again opposed to going by nonverbal communications.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, communications right now have broken down so bad because of, people say to blame the internet. I don't really blame the internet. We've just separated ourselves in many other ways. The internet, I think, is because people have been separated due to work and due to lifestyle and all of this sort of thing. The internet, I think, is uniting people, but right now, I don't know, it's kind of going a little crazy.
Well, there is the whole, you know, okay, so we are kind of, okay, people don't like communicating.
Yeah.
I mean, at least communicating in a way, and I've seen this at work, you know, I've been demonized because I don't give out my social media to people at work for reasons, but it's almost like people don't want to talk to you, they want to know, they want to stalk your internet profile and get to know you that way, which is sometimes BS. But people in general, again, they have ideas about you, they make these prejudgments, mainly, I mean, and that's natural too as a way of defense and whatnot. But at some level, it's you know, hey, you know, if you're not willing to say something, especially, I mean, nonverbal communication exists, but when you're solely communicating with someone else nonverbally, like, that's how mistakes happen, and, you know, if you're not willing to talk to someone or ask someone a question, well, then I guess you're not worth their time. That's how I look at it. Now, I'm just like, okay, if you're gonna do that shit, you're not worth my time.
That's how I am too, for the most part, except when it comes to, you know, people who run your job or people that own your
I don't even care about
like
people who run my job. If they're going to give me passive aggressive evil looks and like not verbalize something, because I've got, you know, you get these little looks, or you'll get these like little side eye things, or these little things that people do that are nonverbal, that are obviously meant to communicate something negative. Say something to my face, like, can we please have verbal communication come back, even direct it, even if it's direct and it might be hurtful. I don't care. I'd rather have direct communication than this, like, guess what I'm thinking BS.
Same here. I love it. I actually love it when people nicely ask me, what am I all about, when they see me out and about dressed or something, or on the internet they ask me. If they ask nicely and I can explain things, I love it when they do that. A lot of people get pushed out of shape for that sort of thing, but I don't. I want to explain things. I want to say, yeah, I'm not a threat to humanity. I'm just a guy who likes different styles, just like Harry Styles. Wow. You know, but then we have tradition. I heard the term tradcon for Ben Shapiro. I think that's traditional conservative, or Candace Owens is also a tradcon. And they're holding on to these ideas that in some ways are good, but there's some others that they can just throw out. Like, they spent, this video he made was about 10 minutes of him just having a diatribe about Harry Styles wearing a dress and going on about the end of civilization. We'll be getting into that. And it's really like, really? You hold masculinity to such a low level that it can be destroyed by fabric and material and hairstyles and pigments on skin? Come on, guys. It's not that bad, you know? All right. Come on.
The left fully acknowledges the qualities of masculinity and femininity, right? Which is why they suggest that there are a wide variety of genders, because they suggest that a man can be very feminine, and this actually makes him a woman, right? So they agree that this means that there is such a thing as masculinity and femininity. They then just suggest that men should act like women, right? That masculinity should be made more feminine. And Candace disagrees. She says that when you make men more feminine, when you suggest that men need to be like women, they need to wear dresses, right? That this undermines some fundamentally good thing about men. In the same way that if you said that women ought to act like men, it's funny, if you say that women ought to act more like men, this is considered sexist, because it actually is sexist. But if you say that men ought to act more like women, this is considered progressive and forward thinking. The attempt to...
Okay. Let's see. The idea of women being told to act more like men is considered sexist, and for men to be told to act more like women isn't sexist. I don't know what planet he's on. Because as far as I know, women being encouraged to act more like men is fairly accepted. Women are allowed to dress like men, whereas if a man dresses like a woman, he is the epitome of evil, and he's bad, and he's going to destroy Western civilization, while she can wear a blazer and suit and all that sort of stuff. Years ago, I attended a wedding where I wanted to wear a legginged outfit and a nice long shirt done in tunic style. I was not permitted to do this. Instead, I was crammed into a gray, ugly suit, a men's suit. When I was at that wedding, I saw no less than 3 women wearing tuxedos. That's sexism. That is pure sexism. But they were encouraged and they were praised. There were no people saying, "Oh, what is she doing in that?" But I wasn't. I was stuck in this suit. Whereas the outfit that I had, my sister-in-law, who was getting married, was like, "Oh, that will look good." But my parents and their side of things were like, "Oh no, you're wearing this." So it's like, you know.
Yeah, that reminds me of something too.
Yeah.
I attended a wedding of a friend of mine, very colorful person like me, who liked wearing colorful things. But I was advised during her wedding that I could get all pretty, but not to wear my blue lipstick.
Not to wear blue lipstick.
Okay.
Oh.
Now,
okay.
also too, this is more addressing how women are more expected to be a certain way as well, where it's more acceptable for them to be more masculine. Not masculine, but you know what I'm saying, like in style, fashion, male fashions, or I don't know, it's just kind of even silly to even. But anyway,
so this whole thing's silly. This whole thing is
I don't know,
ridiculous.
like this is a lot of attention. Mainly people just want to get views. But anyway, so that's why they're going on, like he's going on about this so he can. Anyways, but I've noticed as a female that it is also frowned upon for females to be more feminine. Like, women are also given guff if they wear too much makeup, or if they pay too much attention to their appearance, or clothes, certain clothes, skirts. Like, if I wanted to go to interview, I was actually, my mother was like, "Oh, you're going to wear a skirt to an interview." And it was a professional skirt. And that's more my thing. And my mom was like, "Oh, you're gonna wear it? You're not gonna wear pants?" And like that is actually, and even where I work now, the uniform. Yeah, you can wear a skirt, but it's mostly the generic is, you wear some ugly. I'm sorry, some boring like pants, jeans, and you wear like a t-shirt. Of course, it's kind of adjustable, like blouses and stuff, so you can kind of dress it up. But at the same time, it's promoting this very, like I mentioned before, everyone's pretty much looking the same. And I noticed that he was talking about, I'm just going to mention this briefly because I don't want this video to be about this, but the whole Marxist thing.
Oh, yeah.
You better be more worried about everyone being the same. If they are actually saying, "Hey, you need to wear this," you guys, okay, in the workplace they have a meeting, okay, all guys have to wear skirts. That's a different thing. You're just talking about a Vogue article that no one really knew about until like either they saw it on the shelf at a store or because it was on the internet. People knew about it because it was on the internet. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to click on it. So, I mean, that's the person making the choice to engage that material. Why are you freaking out?
And it's like you brought up the board meeting. I think it'd be really awesome if in a board meeting, the head of the board meeting said, "Okay, our dress code will be this from now on. If a woman can wear this item, then a guy should be able to have the choice to wear that item."
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Right, so, yeah, it should
In other
be a
words,
choice.
get rid of the sexism in dress codes. Because frankly, this is what I think about dress codes. I think I've mentioned this before. But dress codes, the way they are now, prevent guys from experimenting. Period. They prevent guys from experimenting. If while they're at work all the time, they're in slacks and that sort of stuff, they're not going to bother outside life trying a skirt or something. They're, you know, I think a lot of guys are pressured by society to not try these things, and I think that's a crime. I think that's a really not a good thing. Like this reaction to Harry Styles is a grand example of why a lot of guys who might want to try it are just like hiding in the shadows. I know I hid in the shadows for a long time. I was always running under the radar when it came to my parents. And I've just said, probably about 2 decades ago, I just said, F this, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm wearing what I want to wear. You know, and I've actually had more, better social life than I did before. You know, and so...
I also want to mention one more thing he was talking about.
Yeah.
And he was talking, because the polarity of the male and female and styles. And he mentioned this, and it's interesting, because he mentioned, you know, female, the left recognizes being female in the whole trans... He mentioned that, like, but you should be female.
Yes.
He's thinking that they're pushing it. And maybe in some ways they're pushing the idea so that it's more acceptable. They're not pushing it to, like, I mean, if you have like some government law in place, now that's an issue.
That's a different story. Yeah.
Again, it's an artsy magazine. It's a fashion magazine. It's not a big deal. Of course, I did not read the article.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how pushy it was, because sometimes things can be kind of overly pushed. Instead of just doing the styles and doing the shots, sometimes people like to grandstand about certain issues that kind of gets overdone. I do agree with that aspect. But yeah, again, he was talking about how, again, it's just another way of pushing that standard. He's saying, oh, well, they just want every male to be female. They want everyone to be female.
Right.
Again, it's that bipolar, not bipolar, but that polarity of male and female, female, male. You know, maybe there's just a middle ground, and you don't need to go female or male. Maybe just do whatever you want. What's wrong with that?
Right.
That area.
Exactly. It's like when I put on what I wear, I'm not doing it to be a woman. I don't want to be a woman. I can never think of a time I wanted to be a woman other than to be able to have freedom to express myself in the way I wanted to, because society says only women can do this. You know, oh man, I forgot what I was going to say.
I know that happens too. You get on like
I know,
it's non-scripted.
I know.
So
Oh, it's totally
non-scripted, obviously. Okay, you were talking about you don't see yourself as a woman.
Oh, exactly. No, I don't. When I put on my dresses and stuff, I do it to maybe have a more elegant look, maybe a more sleek look or something like that. But those are terms I use. I don't use, oh, this looks so girly or something like that. My intention is not to appear feminine. I might have aspects that are feminine, like my makeup might be a little more feminine or something like that. My hairstyle might be more feminine. But what makes that feminine? There's the other thing. Why are certain things feminine? Why are certain things masculine? And why can't the two meet? Mm-hmm. That's one area I've always had confusion with. Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it's that the non-threatening, like I was saying before, the non-threatening way of this being communication, how to speak about it. But then it became ingrained in people's culture, because language does influence culture as well. But and then you get like this whole, parents imposing stuff on their kids,
right? And
that does happen both ways. Mm-hmm. It can happen for both sides of this debate. You can have a pushy parent on both sides.
Yep.
But linguistically, like, it gets carried away. It gets warped, and it's not just Western culture that does. Like, all cultures do this weird shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just. I think, and then you get like, it kind of reminds me this stuff, this back way. It kind of reminds me of the schoolyard.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a magazine. You don't have to open it up.
Something I do want to avoid, though, I don't think artists and performers and all that sort of stuff should have carte blanche, be able to freely express themselves while the average person can't. I mean, I like the fact artists are breaking grounds, but I really wish more run-of-the-mill people would actually start breaking ground as well. Maybe looking at these artists saying, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. I've got no problem with that. But I do hear oftentimes, well, they're performers, so they can do it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to avoid that. I think just because you're not an artist and just because you're not a performer doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to express yourself how you would like, you know.
It might be the whole idea to, I mean, yeah, social acceptability and artists pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
Also, too, though, if you are a creative by your job, and compared to the average person whose job takes up most of their life, let's just be honest, and is draining because people are jerks that you work with, just saying, it's going to drain that from you. You're not going to have enough time to, I mean, you can find time, but most people either don't or they have to deal with jerks that have BS stuff to say. And I've even had progressive people, so-called progressive people, mock, you know, make comments about you wearing stuff out, when you're gone, and this is supposedly a progressive person. So, you know, it's deeply ingrained, and a lot of it is just, some of it is just a lot of like grandstanding and fake virtue stuff, because a lot of this, you know, sometimes you get like people in Berkeley talking shit about a person who wears a skirt. So take that in mind too when you're thinking that, oh, culture's being overrun. It's really not. It's really not. This isn't really gonna, you know, be the downfall.
No.
I mean, it's not even really, yeah, it's really like a little drop in the bucket.
And I know which gentleman you're talking about who had his little comments about my outfit.
Yeah.
I think he was purely out of jealousy, because if you saw this fellow, you know, I mean,
There's that too.
yeah.
He was,
I think jealousy plays a lot. It's even with a little Benny boy here. I think jealousy is a big factor.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what Candace Owens' issue is. Like I said, I've never seen a woman wear a skirt. I've never seen her wear a dress. You know,
think there's bigger issues these people could tackle.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially right now.
Way bigger issues. Much bigger issues. And they can't say that guys wearing dresses are the same people who are burning buildings. That's ridiculous. That's moronic. All right, let's go on.
To feminize men is ongoing on the left.
Okay. I am sick and tired of this. You're feminizing men. You're the one that's applying feminizing men to the idea of a guy getting a choice to wear a skirt. That's not... Wearing a skirt doesn't automatically feminize you. And what in the fuck does that even mean? I'm sorry. I really hate the term emasculate, because there is no female equivalent to it. And it's often used as an insult. You know, oh, you're emasculated. What the hell are you talking about? You know? Do you think I can't defend myself? Is that what it is? Because I'm telling you, if I had someone try to attack me and I got the upper hand, that fellow would not see his next day. Okay? Because his eyes would be knocked out. I'm serious. I mean, my ex-girlfriend and myself used to joke about when we were walking down the streets in San Francisco, decked out on our way to the goth club, how much we would take joy in pounding someone into the dirt that decided to, take it upon himself, because he's usually a him, and insult us and assault us. We would have so much fun stomping him into the ground with our stompy stompies. You know, that's the thing. Oh, you put on a dress, you can't defend yourself. Dude, even if it meant tearing the seams of my dress, delivering a roundhouse kick to someone, I would. That's just it. You know, but frankly, why is that masculine? Why is beating the crap out of someone masculine? There's nothing masculine about that. It's brutal. And frankly, I think the world could do with less of that shit. And less promotion of it. What do you think?
I think maybe this is the tie of, again, like I said, in linguistics, but also tying that to hormones, maybe, of feminine and masculine. Even though, I tell you, females can get aggressive. You know, the whole female warrior stuff did exist, does exist. A lot of the mythology, it's kind of sad. You know, a person from a a spiritual background where we look at myths from different cultures and different, you see the warrior, the female warrior, that is a thing. Women do have it in them. We have both aspects, again, masculine, feminine within us. It's just, and I was in the military, and so I mean,
Right.
and was, I don't know about Ben, but was he in the military?
Oh no,
I'm just
no,
asking.
no. Ben is a lawyer. Ben
Yeah.
went to law school, and now he has a radio show.
Well, yeah.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But obviously, maybe his lawyerly career didn't really take off. It's pretty much like my flight instruction career didn't take off. So I'm turning wrenches on airplanes, But he's making a good living, and so am I.
But he's also making money off of using controversy. Now,
Yes.
this is an aspect of the internet. The more, if you can find something that's trending, and it's usually something that either provokes a certain feeling from people or controversy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find something that sparks controversy, you can make a lot of money off of just focusing on that and talking about that. And so when they saw this, okay, this is a perfect thing we can talk about and get a lot of controversy going, a lot of views, a lot of clicks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a money thing.
And what's so sad about it is Ben is sort of making money by promoting hate. It's hate or derision, one of the two. He's, him and Candace, and they can do so much better for the world by actually looking at issues that matter.
And it's interesting because there are some things that Candace has looked at and talked about that are fine. Like, because this whole idea that if a person is wrong about something, or their mental thing is off, oh, well, I'm not that's different from yours, or something, that everything they've ever talked about is bad or wrong, and you have to be on the total opposite of them is a skewed viewpoint as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, there's other things, again, right now that they could be talking about, and that they have talked about in the past,
Right.
that is important, that is, focus on the things that actually matter. I don't think this doesn't really matter.
That this isn't the first time that both Ben and Candace have brought
About
up this
this
whole
subject,
thing about
yeah,
real men.
this subject is like,
And the
yeah.
attack on masculinity. I love that term. Oh, this is an attack on masculinity. How? How is it an attack on masculinity? It's, redefining masculinity. Masculinity could use for a definition. Frankly, I think masculine and feminine could go for a redefinition, to where the definitions are more dovetail into each other,
Okay.
and more overlap into each other.
There's an issue with that, however, communication.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you describe certain things?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a bad idea. I'm just
Right.
saying
No,
that
I-
it's
It's
like,
not easy.
I mean, if you're going to change the thing that doesn't, you don't really need to change the language about it, or even somewhat the definition. It's the idea of the definition.
Right.
It's the idea of the definition. Oh, it can only pertain to this
Right.
this sex of person.
Right.
This. I don't know, because it's hard, because I've heard this before.
Mm-hmm.
In the spiritual community, when they try to, what word are you going to use? How are you going to define this? What category are you going to place it in a linguistic way? Not,
Yeah.
it kind of gets tricky.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so this prompted me to defend Candace's comment. And I said, this is perfectly obvious. Anyone who pretends it is not a referendum on masculinity for men to don floofy dresses and then be celebrated by magazines like Vogue is gaslighting you. Masculinity and femininity are categories. They exist. Right? Some behavior is more masculine, like punching people in the face. Some behavior is more feminine, like where
It's more aggressive.
So punching people in the face is a masculine behavior.
What they did is they categorized aggression in the masculine category. I guess because, again, this is where I think they're tying the language with testosterone.
Testosterone.
Yeah, and so they're making that connection.
Yeah.
I believe that's what they're doing. I believe, actually, there's other hormones and stuff that can contribute also to that as well.
Yep.
Fight or flight, other
Yeah.
chemicals that can. But yeah, they are categories. But the way you're using them and being authoritarian about it, and not in nature, there's a mixture. In nature, there's the spectrum.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. But again, humans think in polarities, and that's why the communications. But at the same time, it's just like acknowledging it was a photo shoot. It's not a big deal.
Right.
The big deal is if it, people are like, okay, from now on, men have to wear this.
Right. That's
That's the
totally
deal.
not what I want either. I would like just more freedom. I would like more freedom for guys to have more choices. For sexist dress codes to be a thing of the past. That's, instead of having one column for girls and one column for boys for a school dress code, get rid of the columns and just say, this is what you can wear.
Yeah, don't get me started on dress code.
Oh no, dress codes suck. I hate dress codes.
It's just a way of controlling people.
It is.
And
it truly is.
It's a control mechanism. It's an authoritarian. People get off on telling people what they can and cannot wear. And yeah, I understand that at some level, you don't want someone, coming naked to whatever.
Right.
But come on.
Well, that's what I was meaning. Like in the office environment, if a woman can go to work in a nice, good-looking skirt suit, then a guy should be able to have that option as well.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
If I'm not saying that a woman should be able to come in wearing lingerie, or a guy should be able to come in wearing lingerie. I'm not saying that. That sort of freedom, there is a limit, exposed bits, no, and that sort of thing. It needs to be decent, clean, that sort of thing. That I'm fine with. But when you limit someone by the bits between their legs, that's not cool. I don't agree with that, and it seems like you don't either. Uh-oh.
Oh, what'd you do?
Oh, I went into an ad. Thank you, YouTube.
This video is brought to you by Curiosity
What
Stream.
the hell is
Sign
this?
up with the link in the description and also get access to my streaming
gonna
service
make you
Nebula
watch
for
commercial.
free. Okay, so this is going to be a
Oh
rather
no, it's
long
one
video.
of these
so
long commercials.
Get back to
That femininity is just men cramming down the patriarchy on women. But they will also say that gender, which is the manifestation of biology, right? But they don't think so. They think the gender is just your femininity or masculinity is actually inborn and inherent to you. So they say that a man can be a woman, even though there's no biological underpinning. So gender is real, but also it's socially constructed. It's all self-contradictory. But let's
So
assume
are
for a
you.
second the honesty
it can be
of some folks on the left who at least acknowledge that femininity and masculinity
Yeah,
exist.
this could be an hour.
They also have indicators, outward indicators. Dress has been, for virtually all time and in virtually all cultures,
It can be. Again, here we get into the whole idea of gender being performative that you've heard before. Okay, sex. Okay, I don't want to get into sticky issue and bring a lot of controversy to your channel. But there's a difference between sex and gender. While the sex and the hormones can play a significant part of how you perform your gender or how you act out your gender or how you what's another word? Just how you identify or how you come across, what the energy you project.
your presentation.
Yes, that is subjective and it's fluid, and you can do it in different ways. Again, I could also wear more masculine stuff and present myself more in a masculine way. I can do that. I can do it feminine too. I can change from one day to the next if I wanted to. Again, that part is something that you can control, right? You can gender. I don't even know why. I don't know. They have sex and gender all the time.
Oh, yeah,
who
yeah.
cares? But it's just like, yeah, it can be because of your sex, but it doesn't have to be. That's the difference between gender, because you have control over your personality. You have control over your traits. You can project a more aggressive trait or a more passive trait. I
Right.
mean, you can do that.
Yeah.
You control that.
Yeah.
It's not ingrained in you. Like your personality can be, but
Yeah.
I don't want to get into like how you can adjust your personality. But
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
an outward indicator, which is why the Bible explicitly says that it is against
Oh,
cross-dressing, for example. Okay, but
I
in
bring
virtually
religion into this.
Okay, so he brought up my nemesis, and that is Duet 22:5. It is the only passage in the Bible that has anything to do with cross-dressing. I've actually really done a lot of study on this particular passage and what caused it and what it was about. It's not what Christians and people like Ben think it's about. It's actually about religious garb or it's about military weaponry. A woman shall not wear a sword. Because back then, women weren't allowed to fight at all. You know, women were not allowed to carry weapons. That's why what's-her-face killed the guy with a hat pin. I think it was a hat pin. It was some pin. A pretty brutal way of killing somebody, if you ask me. I'd rather have my head cut off than have a pin driven through my head. But yeah, let's see. So, let's see.
Every culture, men and women dress differently. This does not mean that all men dress the same.
Okay, so he basically made a fallacy, and that is that throughout history, men and women have dressed differently. Actually, no. We watched a video where a fellow actually did show clothing through the history, and there was a time when men and women wore essentially the same things, maybe with some embellishments for the women or embellishments for the men. Egypt was a grand example of this. Men wore skirts, and the skirts they wore were shorter than the women's. Greek culture, togas. Women may have worn more color. That's really about it. And you also have to remember these depictions that we were seeing in this video were modern day depictions of what they wore. We really have no idea what colors they wore because they're all dead and the clothes were evaporated. They're gone, you know. So we don't know just how brightly colored things were unless they're going by written record of something like that. Who knows? There's no photographs of those people from back then. So for all we know, they wore exactly the same things, and the only identifier that one was a man and one was a woman was the woman had breasts and hips, whereas the man did not.
And you also have to take into account differences in style between the regular people and the royal classes.
Oh yes, yeah. That's where we get into the monarchy era of France. You know, the monarchs, the guys, holy shit. These were men, and they had on short skirts, tights, heels, big embellished hair, makeup, jewelry, all of this sort of fancy stuff. And these were fighting men.
Yeah, and they went to war. They probably weren't wearing all that when they were going to war, but they still were able to fight.
Yes.
So that whole idea of, oh, you donned a dress once and did a photo shoot, and you're not going to be able to defend yourself ever again, yeah.
Is ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. So what he stated there was factually untrue. I recommend, if you're interested, to look into the history of clothing, because it's actually not as cut and dry as people think. For instance, high heels were born out of combat. So were tights, and so were short skirts.
And again, also, like what I've mentioned before, and this, you know, kind of ties into it. In the past, you'll see more variation as the world becomes more. We've kind of, you know, obviously became more global. You're going to see more things become the same.
Yeah.
So he's going on about differences in clothing. When I work for I work retail, and let me tell you, everyone wears either jeans, t-shirts, hoodies, a jacket. Everyone wears the same thing. Like, it gets really boring. Like, everyone wears. So he's not going on about that. So I guess it's okay if you all wear jeans and shirts and look like, but you just can't wear a dress.
Yeah, it's like I stood out like a sore thumb when I used to go shopping, because everybody else was just mundane and boring looking. Whereas here I am, gothed out. I am just looking like either Morticia Adams or Susie Sue or something like that, and I stood out.
And you still
of
get
course
dirty
I stood
looks
out.
in
And
progressive area.
yeah, you still get dirty looks. And the thing is, this is another thing. It's like, oh well, you're just trying to get attention. Actually, I'm not. You know, or you're trying to make a statement. Just wearing those clothing, even if I was a woman wearing that, I'd be making a statement. You know, it's like you make a statement if you stepped out of the norm. And maybe more people should be making statements, because I'm getting tired of seeing people wearing the same frickin' things all the time.
Yeah, you're lucky you don't work with the public, because you see it all the time.
I used to work with the public, and
it's kind of it's interesting. It's kind of plays with your mind a little bit.
Oh yeah, it does.
It's like,
it
what,
does.
is everyone actually looking the same right now?
Is everyone dull?
Now, women in all cultures dress the same. It means that in every culture there is a distinction between how men dress and how women dress. The stupidest form of the argument that I saw yesterday online was, well, in Scotland they wear kilts. That means that a man in America wearing a skirt, a floofy skirt, is the same as a man in Scotland wearing a kilt. No, because they also distinguish between how men wear clothes and women wear clothes in Scotland, too. It's just that men wear different clothes than men in America. It's a most idiotic thing. People are like, well, yeah, back in Roman times, men...
Modern day Scotland.
And I'm sure everyone looks the same.
In modern day Scotland, men don't wear kilts that often, and it's a damn shame.
They're probably wearing hoodies, shirts, and jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, like even India, like you see videos from that, they look the same.
This is the one thing I don't like about. This is one of the many things I don't like about globalization, and that is the westernization of other countries. Japan used to have these gorgeous outfits that they would wear, and then over time they started adopting Western styles. India is kind of the same. India you know them, you know, they're saris, but also the males wore really extravagant stuff.
Now they just wear
suits.
It's like mostly jeans.
And that's what's happening also is, I think one of the most dull things on the planet when it comes to fashion is the men's three-piece suit. Boring! Have you also noticed, like, at award ceremonies, what are the guys wearing? Tuxedos. Some variation. Oh, your tie might be a different color. Oh, that cover button might be red. Or something like that. Whereas the women are in all kinds of styles, all kinds of hairstyles, colors, materials, cuts. And it's like, why are the guys looking like penguins while the women just look fantastic? Or some women look atrocious. They're able to do that too. They wear some outfit that is just awful looking. But the guys, run-of-the-mill, same thing. You know, when Samuel L. Jackson wore a kilt to an award ceremony, there were some people swooning over it. There were also a lot of guys ripping into him for doing it. Oh, this is a feminization. He's wearing a kilt. All right.
Oh, and I just want a quick side
Sure.
there. When you talk about westernization of different countries, you're talking about the fashion sense.
Yes.
You're not talking about, like, certain aspects of Western culture that are actually good, like human rights and stuff like that.
No. All I'm talking about is
the fashion
the
aspect,
fashion.
which is true. Like it's creeped in like everywhere,
Yeah.
Asia. Unless they're actually doing something that's more traditional, or you're in a very traditional tribal setting, you're not going to see that. You're going to see everyone looking the same.
They all, Yep.
Or togas. You understand, those were basically just dresses, yes. And women wore a different form of clothing at the time. Women and men were distinguishable by dress. They have always been distinguishable by dress in virtually every human culture.
You can tell
and
the
noting
guy was a
that men
dude.
wore floofier stuff in the 16th century in Britain does not change the fact that women wore completely different clothing in the 16th century in Britain.
You can still tell who's a why is he going off on this? Because you can still tell that, I mean, not that it matters, but he's going off on like telling male from female. You can tell that the guy in Harry Styles is a male.
Right. And similar to my style, okay? When I wear my stuff, you have to be completely blind to not know that I am male. Even if I've got my hair long and I've got makeup on. From a distance, yeah, maybe you will think, okay, there's a woman over there. But when you get up close, you have to be blind to not notice. And deaf to not notice. I'm a guy. You know, first of all, I don't have hips. I have a slight definition of my hips, but not like a woman. And I don't have a chest. And here's something about cross-dressers. Normally, if they're trying to actually emulate a woman, they will overdo the breasts. They will make the breasts bigger. Because I've had people say, well, some women are flat-chested and all that sort of stuff. It's like, dude, no. A cross-dresser is going to wear breast forms that are a little bigger than they actually should be sometimes, or they still have definition. It's still obvious they're going for a woman's chest. All right, anything else? Or shall we go on?
Yeah, just going.
They're going to go on with the old Benny boy.
Right, this is a category error, you morons, to suggest that because men wore something, like a kilt in Scotland, that if you transferred over to America would look more feminine. Therefore, a man wearing a skirt in America in 2020 is just the same in the male-female paradigm as a man wearing a kilt in
He's
Scotland
just going off
in
norms right
1590.
now.
Yes.
It's
going off
insane
cultural
and
norms.
idiotic and ridiculous on its face, and we all know that.
So he's the arbiter of
Okay, pretending that men
norms.
dressing like women is not about feminizing men is
that's
ridiculous. Because they are overtly celebrating the fact that styles is feminizing masculinity. So this is all a big gaslighting effect, right? The left will do this. The left's routine is this.
I don't know
Look
if
how
that's
important and
gas-
magical
I
it
don't
is that
think
Harry
so.
Styles is wearing a dress. He's subversively undermining masculinity by bringing the effects of femininity to the masculine. And that's real masculinity, isn't dude wearing a dress. And then people on the right are like, yes, men wearing dresses does undermine masculinity by making it more feminine, and that is a bad thing. And then folks on the left don't respond by saying, well, why is it a bad thing to feminize masculinity? Because then they would lose the argument, because masculinity has very many good things and ought to be upheld.
Okay. Okay. I was going there. I was gonna. What was he? Okay. I stopped it and I was gonna say something and I lost it.
Oh, instead, what the left does
Can I
is
go
this
back?
weird
Yeah. Go
gaslighting
back a
stuff
little
routine
bit.
where they say,
Oh,
how
not
dare
that
you say that men wearing dresses undermines masculinity? You said! You on the left, you said that wearing a dress undermines masculinity. That
Okay. So he's going on about this article, saying that that was their intent. I
Yeah.
don't know what their intent was.
I don't either.
Maybe they should have just did the shoot without putting all their stuff. You know, oh, we're doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
So then that gives them something to run with. It's just like.
But
I
we
don't
have we have since learned. We did a little research on Harry Styles, and we actually had a video from a stylist, and she was explaining that Harry Styles has always done this. He's always pushed the gender boundaries. He's always pushed the style boundaries. So, you know, maybe he was in this article and he was saying, yeah, I just like playing with clothes and it's
Yeah.
fun and all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
maybe the editors of Vogue were like, he's combating toxic masculinity, and or something silly like that, or trying to change masculinity. Now, frankly, like I said, I think masculinity could use a change. I think it could use a broadening of definitions. But I don't think it's going to try to destroy masculinity. I don't think you can destroy masculinity. I'm expressing my form of masculinity when I'm dressed. Ben Shapiro has his form of masculinity. There's a picture of him standing next to a truck with a Stetson cowboy hat, a button-down shirt, and jeans. And I'm not a guy, I don't like guys sexually or anything like that. But I will say, in that picture, Ben actually looks decent. He doesn't look comical or anything. He actually looks really decent. And here's the other thing. I wouldn't dare tell him that he shouldn't do that and try to appropriate cowboy culture or something to that effect. But he would proudly and happily tell me that I'm somehow subverting masculinity by looking like Morticia Adams. That's not cool. And that's something else that's something that comes up a lot, is how most people like myself wouldn't dare tell people how to dress. But they're very happy to tell us how to dress. And that's
And you get
not
this on
fair.
all sides too. Though.
Yeah.
You get. Trust me, you get.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you dress like, I don't want to get into it, but because you get schooled like, oh, you can't have dreadlocks, you can't wear bandanas.
Oh, that's true.
You know.
there's
So
that
they
sort of
both
stuff.
do it. See, this
Yep.
is the thing. They both do it, and both sides of the argument that's really rigid, like you can't. You know, you have to be a man and you have to be a woman in the way you dress somehow, you know, because it's specific, and you can't have dreadlocks and you can't wear bindis if you're not from this culture, and you can't dress like this and you can't dress like that, and this is the way we think and this is the culture. If you look at these ideas, they're very they want to put your they don't want you to think for yourself.
Right.
They just want the easy, like, okay, well, he said it and it's true. You know, think for yourself. Dress how you want to dress. Society is going to impose its limitations on you anyway if you have to work or whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to do it anyway. You're going to get jackassy looks when you walk down the street. Whatever. Happens all the time. But you got to be strong enough. Like,
Right.
ooh, I'm going to be masculine here. You got to be strong enough to just do it anyways. And think for yourself. Like, I can read the article and think for myself if I like the look or not. It's fine. You know, you don't have to get on a high horse and, like, what does he want to accomplish with this? I guess he can put his opinion out there. The problem is when they try to, like, censor stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want him censoring, like, okay, we can't have, you know, guys in skirts in Vogue.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with like the other side. You know, censoring what you can and cannot wear. It's like it's a war for your mind. It's a war for your attention. They're trying to get you to think a certain way and thus be active a certain way that you're easier to control.
What I find funny is Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens are against authoritarianism, and yet here they are kind of supporting authoritarianism, dictating how a man should dress, saying that if a man puts on a dress, he's feminizing himself. No, he's not. Maybe some are. Oh, I'm not going to say that some guys, if they wear a dress, they're feminizing themselves. I'm saying not all. And, yeah, so on further. Come on.
That is the whole point of putting people on the cover of magazines who are men wearing dresses. Okay, so here's the bottom line.
Art and artistic
There are a lot of
magazine.
conservatives, I know, who listen to this sort of stuff and they go,
man,
well,
it's
why aren't we talking about political races? Why aren't we talking about tax
exactly.
rates? Why aren't
There's
we
other
talking about
things.
policy?
Yeah.
This stuff matters. It matters because these are fundamental ideas to the preservation of a civilization. Boys and girls are different. Boys and girls are different. It is important to inculcate in your children that boys and girls are different.
Oh, God.
No, it is not important to tell your... It is not important to tell your son, no, you can't wear that because you're a boy. That is such bullshit.
I've seen this happen. It happens with just dumb bullshit, like with, again, what you wear. I've seen it like a little, especially a very young child. I was in a thrift store, grabbed something, a bag of like mixed toys, and the mother was like, "Oh no, that's for girls." I mean, she was speaking Spanish, but I could understand that she was saying, "No, that's for girls," and put it back. I'm like, just let the boy take. He wanted the you know, it's that sort of thing. Like that's not a big deal. And what you might happen is if you keep doing this, and if you're really authoritative and abusive, possibly, that you could create the very opposite in what you want.
Bingo.
And that's not cool.
Bingo.
You're just gonna, if you let the person express themselves, and you don't want to go the other way, like, oh, I have a son, but I wish I had a little girl. Hey, put some nail polish out, wear this dress, you look great. Or don't you feel like a little girl? Like, there's that aspect too. So there's two sides to every coin.
You're right.
But, you know, parents, just chill out. When it comes to this stuff, like when you're raising your kid, it's not that big of a deal.
The whole
really
thing,
not.
honestly, what you wear isn't that big a deal. I make these videos and I do these things, and you might think I make a big deal out of it. I don't really make a big deal out of it. Or if I am making a big deal out of it, it's because people like Ben and people like Candace make a big deal out of it. I make it a big deal because if I went to a job interview and I was wearing a skirt suit, I would have less of a chance or no chance of getting the job, whereas a woman would probably have a higher chance getting the job, and that's called sexism. And I don't like sexism, and I don't like that kind of stuff, and that's why I guess I make a big deal out of it. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty, it really shouldn't matter what somebody wears. It just shouldn't. It's such an unimportant thing, and yet conservatives mostly, although it seems like some non-conservatives make a big deal out of it too. They're shocked that I would show up at the grocery store decked out to the nines. They're shocked by this.
I think it's because there's another aspect of it too. There's that aspect, the bigoted aspect. There's also, you know, if you take a look at these people, they take no time in their appearance.
Exactly.
And maybe they're just shocked or maybe
Yeah.
angry that they don't, and then you are.
Oh, and
There might be that.
And what I love is men shouldn't pay so much attention to their physical looks and all that
maybe
sort of
they
stuff.
should. I think maybe they should because
You
a
know?
lot of guys out there. I mean, not only I'm not trying to be mean. Not only do y'all look, some of y'all look the same, but like you don't pay attention to any, like, it just, you know, you put on a ugly ass shirt and you're kind of slobby and you walk out the door and it's just like, ugh.
That gets to something else too. I don't want everybody dressing like me. I don't want everybody looking like David Bowie.
Just look like themselves.
I want variety.
Just variety. Yeah, diversity.
That's what I want.
in
If somebody
fashion.
wants to wear baggy jeans, rock on.
Don't
Do
care.
it.
Yeah.
But when everybody does it because he's doing it, that sucks.
That's another thing too. Can I
Yeah,
talk
go
about
for it.
fads real fast? When we're talking about things that everyone looks the same, And then you have these fads. And I know I was like kind of, because I'm working in where, you know, you have the public and then you have mobs of people in the public, groups, right? And at some point, like, a part of the group was like all wearing the same thing. You have like these fads. And it's just really odd. Like, you know, I'm not saying you can't like those things, but it's just like everyone seems to be wearing it. Like, everyone is liking the same exact thing at the same exact time.
Right.
And wearing it. It's just a little odd. I mean, I'm just putting that out there.
It's fads. That's what
It's
it
weird.
is. Yeah.
I mean, it's...
I mean,
it's
the
trippy.
stripe phenomenon. You know,
Oh
everybody
God!
wearing stripes.
Everyone wearing stripes.
You know?
And camouflage is back, I guess.
Yeah.
Everyone wearing that.
Yep.
At first, I was like, "Why is everyone wearing the same thing?" And they weren't even related to each other, but they're in the same area. And I guess they just happened to be at the store at the same time, wearing the same. I don't know. It was just really weird.
So, anyways, we're going to stop the
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro video. It looks like our battery is about to run out.
Oops.
And
An hour-long video.
no, it's an hour long. I hope it was informative. I hope it gave some food for thought. But bottom line is, people need to just let people be who they are. Self-actualization, I learned while being a flight instructor, learning to be a flight instructor, is one of the most important aspects of our lives. And yet, our lives are continuously withholding that, are continuously in some way restraining that. And self-actualization does include presentation. You know, since I've been wearing a kilt to work, I've actually been more productive. And people actually come up to me and ask me questions about the planes I'm working on. I just did a test flight in an airplane that I just rebuilt, and the guy wants to know everything about what I did on his plane. Obviously, he flies the damn thing. But he looks at me as an authoritative source. Now, that's not authoritarian. That's just, I know what I'm talking about. You know? And before, I was always wearing these blue coveralls that were heavy, draggy, they were not comfortable, and I was productive, but nothing like I am right now. I'm very productive at my job right now. Maybe it's a kilt, maybe it's other things, I don't know. But I'm able to freely express myself. I'm getting more of my self-actualization. And maybe if more bosses would allow their employees to express themselves as they wish, maybe they'd get more production.
I honestly, I'm not going to try to make this long, but I honestly think that some people want to stifle that. I honestly think, maybe not everyone, but I think some people get a little thrill out of that. That's just my...
Yeah.
I mean...
Their self-actualization is to be an asshole?
There's
some self-actualization that maybe shouldn't happen.
They want to, I don't know, they want to control other people, or they can't, they don't work on themselves as a person, and so they feel like attacking other people is a good thing. That's what I've noticed in people.
I think jealousy is a big key to most of this.
Yeah. Just work on yourself. If you're jealous, just work on yourself.
Exactly.
Figure it out for yourself, what you want to do with yourself.
So that's the video. Leave comments down below. Please share if you like the content. And I will put the link to the Ben Shapiro video in the description, although it's really easy to find.
Yeah.
It seems like he's getting ratioed. It seems like Candace Owens is also getting ratioed. And they deserve it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, this is just a dumb topic to be talking about.
Yeah,
like,
they need to stop the whole attack on masculinity stuff. It's ridiculous. Leftists are not trying to destroy masculinity. They may be changing it, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the blending of things is a better thing. So, have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.